Let's talk about hazardous material. Now, they've used asbestos for years in electrical work, fireproofing, and it was banned in the 1980s, but they still allow about 1% of it now. It was in phenolic resin. They use that for insulators, and so you don't want to be drilling or sanding on those insulators. And I've run across some high temperature wire with asbestos insulation on it. You don't want to breathe in the asbestos fibers. It can cause cancer. PCBs were in transformers, capacitors, and fluorescent ballast. Now those were banned in the 70s, early 70s. Anything before 71 probably contains PCBs in there. So those have to be disposed of properly. And the mercury. Now the fluorescent lights contain mercury, and the CFLs that we use in our home have mercury in them. So I think they've known about the effects of mercury for over 100 years. Lewis Carroll wrote a novel in 1865, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, and in there one of the characters was a hatter. They called him the Mad Hatter, and he wasn't a purely fictional character. Back then, the people who made hats used mercury to process the felt for the hat, and they became mad. So there was a lot of Mad Hatters around. So mercury, they would get mercury poisoning. So I've gotten rid of all my fluorescent lights and CFLs. I've gone to LEDs in the house. Now, solder. Lead solder was banned in 2006 in European Union, China, and California. So I stopped using lead solder back in 2006, and I haven't. This iron's never seen any lead solder, and I don't think I can talk and solder at the same time. But if you're building a project for somebody, or you're going to try to sell something, or you're repairing a project, people are going to want to see the SDS, the safety data sheets. And the safety data sheets will tell you what, here's one for the solder that I'm using, and it tells you that it's lead-free solder. So, you have to have these data sheets. If you're building something with lead solder, well, then maybe somebody doesn't want to buy it because of the lead content. So lead solder is great to use, but now if you buy cheap lead-free solder, and it's just about 99.3% tin and 0.7% copper. This stuff's no good. It doesn't work at all. So you have to have about 3% silver in it, at least 3% silver. 3.9 would be even better. This has silver in it. Now it needs to be. In fact, I'm going to turn that up a little bit. It needs to be hotter than lead solder, about 40 degrees hotter. But it does work good. It looks good, and if I there we go. But the this solder has 3% silver, and it's good. You still need a fume extractor though, and so I know a lot of people promote using lead solder. It works great, but since they banned it, I've gone with silver solder with silver in it. Now, if you're purchasing solder, lead-free solder, sometimes they'll have silver in the title, and you have to look down. The stuff's not cheap. You're paying for the silver. It'll say silver on there. If it's cheap, you have to look and read the fine print. It's just probably silver color, and so you want to get the stuff with at least 3% silver in it. So if with 3% silver, it flows nice, and it looks nice when you're done, and no toxic waste. Anyway, that's lead-free solder. Thank you.